Welcome to Blowin Smoke, ladies and gentlemen. AJ Gaynor with you. BS with AJ, I like to affectionately call it. Hope you've enjoyed your week. Welcome to the Talk America Radio Network. Such an exciting time for those of us who pay attention, tune in to talk radio, to podcasts, and pay attention to the politics going on these days. Coming up in this show, we will have for you a book to shove in your skull. Also, I did indeed, and I will continue to include a segment called One Tweet That Trumps Them All this week. Though it might not have been the biggest Trump tweet, it is certainly what, it made itself in my favorite of the week. So I'll share that one with you. Stay tuned for that. Russia, Russia, Russia. Trump and Russia, Russia, Russia. That is all that we have heard for months and months and months and months. Russia this, Russia that, Trump this, Trump that, Donald Trump Jr., Stone, Manafort, Trump, Flynn, Sessions, Trump, Russia, Trump. It's absolutely ridiculous. Yet, earlier this week, while I was watching, as I do occasionally, Fox News, they showed the results of a poll. This was their story. This was their segment. The poll asked Republicans and Democrats what they thought about the investigation, whether or not it was a witch hunt or whether or not it was true, and eventually they'd find evidence. Well, obviously, as you can guess, it was overwhelmingly bipartisan. Republicans overwhelmingly believe it's a witch hunt. Democrats, the opposite. They think it's real, and that if we just keep spending enough money and breaking enough laws, yes, I said that, they'll eventually find evidence of some kind of collusion to steal the election from Hillary. It's ridiculous. Any of us who are thinking and who have not been duped into and infected with Trump derangement syndrome, we understand what's going on here, but apparently such a large amount of the country has not. Maybe this past week has changed some of that, but my question is, for the people who believe that there was Trump-Russia collusion, and that the reason that he sits in the Oval Office is because of Russia, and not the people of the United States who voted, I have a question for you. What will it take to prove to you, Democrats and liberals, that the collusion you suspect and you believe in, as if it's your religion nowadays, what proof do you need that it didn't happen? What will convince you that there's no such thing as Trump-Russia collusion? What is it that's going to affirm for you that you were incorrect, you were misled, you were duped, you were fooled by the media and the Democrats and the liberals, your own colleagues, your own peers? What will it take? I would guess it simply won't happen. I believe that there's such a large number of the Democrats and the liberals who are so far in the tank and have ingested so much of the Kool-Aid, they've literally lost those critical thinking abilities. The ability to look at something and compare and contrast and ask the questions, their understanding of good and bad. I believe they've been so transformed by the liberal progressive ideology throughout their lives. These people who still believe that there was Trump-Russia collusion, I believe they've been so transformed, so rewired, reprogrammed, that it doesn't matter what's found, what is true, what actually is the reality. They will never accept it as reality. They will continue to believe in the same way they criticize Christians for believing. They will continue to believe that Trump somehow colluded with Russia and Putin to steal the election, to fool all of us into voting for the wrong person. I've said before on the show, it is such a statement about the mindset, the attitude, the character of liberals and leftists in this country, that they would so quickly and wholeheartedly go along with a claim and a suspicion that puts so many of their fellow citizens, neighbors, family members, friends, co-workers, loved ones on such an opposing level with themselves, or actually puts themselves so much higher than all of those people that they have accepted, were fooled by Trump and Russia into voting for Trump. It's absolutely astonishing that they could accept the idea, the notion, that the emails that came out from Hillary and her staff and her campaign, the actions of the DNC, the history of the party, the results that we've seen in the cities where it's ruled for decades, the results we saw from Obama's 8 years. It's incredible to me that they would poo-poo all of that, miss all of it, deny its existence, and focus on this idea that their fellow Americans are stupid and that they were fooled into voting for the wrong person. No matter what Hillary actually is, was, did, said, or didn't do, wasn't capable of. Who cares what the DNC did, said, right? None of that matters to the Dems and the Libs, the people in the tank, those who have been rewired and quite frankly broken, unable to not only cope with reality, but to exist in it. We hear of Trump derangement syndrome. I call it delusion. I believe that there is a number of the liberal, progressive, the Democratic left in this country that are delusional to a point beyond rescue. They will never, ever exist in a world where their freedoms are valuable, their rights are understood, their pursuit of happiness, they'll never see it as something for everyone. They'll never see it as a universal right. Where these people who will never be able to accept the idea of self-defense and defense of the family and the home. People who will never understand the concept of freedom of speech, and they will never understand how hate speech does not even exist. Someone can hate you and they can speak. Their speech is speech. Their hate is hate. The two are not connected. They do not increase. One does not increase the other's power or import or impact or mass. It is simply ridiculous. But as I say, my question for you Dems, Libs, who can't get over this, who believe in it as if it's the Trinity, who would eat of the flesh and drink of the blood, that Trump colluded with Russia, what will it take to prove to you that it didn't happen? Again, I believe many of you will never accept that, but we know it all originates from something fake, something created using money. Hillary's money, the DNC's money, Obama's money. Shoot, let's say Russian money because of Uranium One and the amount of money that flowed into the coffers of the Clintons. We know it originated from a fake dossier, proven fake, bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton and the accusation by Russia of hacking the DNC. Do you remember that? That the DNC got hacked and that Russia hacked the DNC. Remember all the Seth Jones stuff? Remember all this? And there's been dribbling reports about that incident over the past year as well. But because Russia was accused of hacking the DNC, which got all those emails exposed, and Hillary and Obama financed through that shell law group, the fake dossier, they were able to create a story, to create something with which to fool, well, could it be half the country? I think not. Oh, most. But neither of these things have any direct effect on votes, or voters, or ballots. They're not direct. It's not a direct effect on a voter. The more information a voter can have about the two parties, or however many he has to choose from, he or she has to choose from, the better and more informed the decision can be. So there is no direct effect. A simple hacking and sharing of emails that show the true attitude of a campaign and of a candidate is not direct. It becomes part of a mass of information that the voter, the citizen, then uses to make an informed decision. It's not a direct effect. Neither of these things had a direct effect. Either the accusation of Russia hacking the DNC or the fake dossier bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton and Obama. Neither of them had any effect on voters, votes, or ballots. It's all opinion. It's all bias for a campaign against another. It's all political. It's all the sore loser left, the sore losing Democratic Party, who's been losing hand over fist over the past several years and through the Obama administration. If you are a liberal and you think Trump colluded with Russia, which by the way isn't illegal, to manipulate us, American citizens, into voting for Trump instead of Hillary Clinton, the word I used earlier, it's delusion. You're delusional. Or, if you're a liberal and you think Trump colluded with Russia, you're either delusional or you're openly expressing your disdain for your neighbors and fellow citizens, your disrespect, your condescension, your elitist attitude. There is absolutely no reason in any instance, context, or example for Putin, for Russia, to want America to have a president like Trump. That is the most basic, simply stated logic anyone needs to understand what has been going on here. The fake news, fake Russia story, fake liberal hate, fake liberal outrage, fake. There is no reason for anyone in Russia, if you're Russian, if you're Putin, if you support Putin's agenda, there's no reason for those people to want President Trump in office. It's absolutely mind-boggling. that anyone would think that there would be some logical connection and that somehow Putin and other world leaders would benefit from a leader that has that attitude towards America that Trump has. It's absolutely asinine. There is no logic involved in the liberals and Dems and never-Trumpers. There's no logic in their efforts. There's no logic in their criticisms of Trump. There's no logic in their hatred of him. That's why it's a derangement syndrome or a delusion. They believe he must be prosecuted, not tolerated. It's not about him serving his term and being voted out again by the American people, trusting them that time. They don't trust us. They don't trust the American people to make the right decisions. It's one of the things that defines the left. Only they understand what America needs. But what's gone on over this year, through the campaign and now through the first year of Trump's administration, is the hyperbole, the rhetoric. There are no more lines. There are no more bounds. It has gone so far outside what even would be considered inflammatory. We have seen from the leftist liberal media, the mainstream media, the fake news media, the liberals and the Democrats, Maxine Waters, right on down the list, Schumer, Pelosi, all of them. Their rhetoric has become limitlessly inflammatory. These people have no shame, though they deserve much. I hope something changes soon in some kind of positive way. We will see. Speaking of Schumer, saw an interesting article today on Twitter, and I'm going to, as I move through the show, think about how I'm going to speak about it because it has not been verified, and I do not want to be a purveyor of fake news. I don't want to fall for some BS story. But the claims made in this story are mountainous and huge. And so I'm going to figure out how to go about that as we move through the show. Stay tuned. Thanks for hitting our sponsors and keeping the show going. This is AJ. It's BS with AJ on the Talk America Radio Network.
If Ernest Hemingway was alive today, would he say this to you?
Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, all great writers. And after reading your book, I simply must add you to the list.
Wait, you don't have a book yet. So make a free call to Page Publishing. Their expert staff can help you turn your book idea into a real book, a masterpiece that could someday make the bestseller list in hard copy and digitally all across the world. Page Publishing can help you completely take your idea for a book, write it, and publish it. So if you want to join the ranks of some of the most famous authors in the world, call now for a free information kit. Turn your book idea into publishing gold. Make a free call right now to Page Publishing.
800-378-2714. 800-378-2714. 800-378-2714. That's 800-378-2714.
Are you tired of paying high prices for TV channels you don't watch? Of course you are. You want to watch and pay for the channels you like. Now you can take back control of your TV with Dish's Flex Pack. Get over 50 of America's favorite channels for just $39.99 per month, and then add the channel packs that you want. And your TV price won't go up for 2 years, guaranteed. Plus, when you call today, you'll get free standard installation in up to 6 rooms and a free HD DVR upgrade. Need more channels? Dish offers loaded channel lineups from $54.99 per month, featuring over 190 channels, and HBO is included for a full year. And for a limited time, GoDish will give you a $100 prepaid Visa card when you sign up and mention offer code GIFT100. Call now, 800-795-5573, 800-795-5573, 800-795-5573.
Packages, prices, and promotions subject to change. Gift card courtesy of GoDish.com. Call for details.
Let's dance.
Welcome back to Blowin Smoke, ladies and gentlemen. AJ with you. Have you ever noticed, I don't know if you have, I don't know if this would be possibly the most perfect way to describe this, but the thought went through my mind. Have we ever noticed how the difference between conservatism and liberalism? Liberalism has to be taught. People have to learn how to be liberal. That's one of the ways that we know that what we've seen happen to our education system over the decades is part of a movement and part of an agenda and part of a plan. It's to teach people to be liberal, to teach people, to convince them, to drive it home that they should be the progressive liberal left, that's the right thing to choose. It has to be taught. Now, I can hear, well, AJ, you have to learn to be the other as well. And I would say absolutely not. I would say that's actually the definition of what is laid out for us in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Simply by being born here and having your pulse, you have all of these rights. You haven't had to earn them by supporting the right politician or giving money to the right PAC. Just simply by being. You've been endowed by our Creator or by nature, or the universe, whatever term you'd like to use, with certain inalienable rights. That's the difference, to me. It's one of the fundamental differences between the left and the right. The left must teach you. They must cause you to be angry. They must cause you to be dissatisfied. They must cause you to be insecure about your future. They must cause you to notice every little difference between you and your fellow citizen and neighbor, whether it's skin color, gender, sexual orientation, the desire to preserve human life in the womb. They have to teach all that. They have to show you how to think about the things that you see and the things that they tell you about and the things that happen. They have to tell you what kind of reaction to have when someone says or does or votes for someone that they disagree with. They are the ones who set down to their followers and the leaders of the Liberal Party, the people who are out front, the tip of the spear in the liberal movement. They have to decide and then communicate downward through the flocks what should or shouldn't be. On the right here, where we value the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, our rights given to us by nature or by the Creator, inalienable. Everyone has them, simply by becoming or being born an American citizen. It's not something you have to learn. We'll tell you about it as you get older. You'll learn about it as you get older, this amazing freedom that you have for the rest of your life and for your family. The amazing safety, the amazing opportunity, the amazing luxury that you will enjoy. Even if you'd never become a millionaire or someone who's rich in this country, our standard of living is unimaginable for so many on this globe. But that's the thing. On the right, for Republicans, for conservatives, for people who understand and value the Constitution, it's not so much learning it and being taught it. It's about simply discovering it. It's something that's naturally there. We don't have to be convinced that we have a right to pursue our happiness. We find that as we live our lives freely, with liberty to pursue our happiness, it comes naturally. Liberalism, leftism, progressivism does not come naturally. It comes through bullying. It comes through brainwashing. It comes through misinformation, omitting facts, revising history, taking over institutions of education and community. So it's a fundamental difference to me between the two sides. One side must teach people how to become angry, quote-unquote, progressive, evolved elitists. The other side discovers it through the life that they live, the liberty they pursue, the happiness they pursue, the talents they discover, the opportunities they stumble across or pursue, go looking actively for. It's a major, major difference. But one thing that separates that and makes it so obvious is the liberal ideology's disdain for their fellow human beings. Liberal ideology oozes disdain for their fellow human beings. All of those human beings who aren't liberals and who won't vote for the people that liberals do and won't endorse the kind of things that liberals do and don't want that kind of statist, everything at the tip of a badge and a gun and a gavel, controlling every aspect of our lives. They have this deep-seated anger, hatred, distrust, disdain, disrespect, fear of their fellow human beings. They fear Christians so much that we hear them say things like, Christians should be jailed. We see them pursue things like removing the Ten Commandments from courthouses, or prayer from schools, or God from the Pledge of Allegiance. They actively pursue a subtraction of Christianity from our culture, a stamping it out, a stomping it out, as opposed to simply discussing ideas and believing that their ideas will win over the ones established in Christianity and the religions here in the West. And it frustrates them so much, and it causes them so much fear because they can't convince believers and smart, cognitive, critical thinkers to accept their liberal ideology. that they want to shut it down. You understand, if we don't agree with climate change, we should be locked up. If we don't agree with abortion, we should be locked up. If we're not into gay marriage, we should be locked up. If we don't think that transgenderism should be a thing, if we think it's a mental illness, we should probably be locked up. Some of the liberals and leftists will become absolutely homicidal and wish for death to people on the right and to Republicans and to evangelicals. It's that kind of delivery, that kind of face of the party, the disdain, the hatred, the anger, the persecution that comes along with their announcements of their agenda and what will happen if you don't agree or give in or knuckle under to it, that is mind-boggling to me. It has to be a situation where you capture people when they're young and they're dumb. Because we're all dumb when we're young. We have to fill our heads with all of the things that we need to fill them with. Well, liberals find a way to get there early and start filling those heads with what they want to have inside of them. And that way they're able to create someone capable of that much anger and hatred and vitriol for their fellow human being. No one will ever convince me that the natural, progressive, evolved way for one human to think about other humans is that, no, it's cool, you should kill them at birth or before they're born. No, abortion is cool, it's awesome. There's no one who can tell me that comes naturally from our genetic memory or history or instincts. Absolutely not. One of the things we've known for a long time is that our sexual drives and those things that are part of that instinct and that animal part of us play a massive role in our lives because it's procreation. It's our genes being carried on. So to submit to me that the right way for it to exist is to not give two shakes about a baby in the womb, I'll never accept it. I'll never accept it. It simply cannot be. And you go down the list of the liberal agenda and the liberal ideology, and what you find is example after example of them going the opposite of instinct, going the opposite of nature, trying to move things from the extremes of nature and what is natural and normal to the opposite extreme, what is not nature, what is not normal, like 43 genders, like killing babies in the womb, like our manipulation of the climate through pollution. All of it, it takes this 180-degree swing from what is natural and real and what is observed and what has been proven as human traits, good and bad, and goes the opposite direction. And what it ends up creating is this whole ideology and agenda that is anti-human. Look, if you feel like babies should be killed in the womb, no problem, we shouldn't bat an eye. If you think we should regress to the 16th century so that we don't pollute as much, if you are that type of individual who sees nothing but damnation, destruction, frustration, oppression, and slavery in human life, well, they've got you right where they want you. They've got an angry, hateful person ready and willing to go. But if we as people are able to accept what is natural, to accept the reality around us, to accept the harshness and the unfairness, the negative side of our instincts, the parts of us that rear their ugly heads throughout our lives that many times we're not prepared for, those of us who are willing to take the good with the bad and try to make the best out of what it is that happens, we're the folks who just can't spend much time on that liberal side of the aisle. Like I said, when I was 20, 22, I was a liberal kid. Absolutely. Pro-choice, blah, blah, blah. Gay rights, blah, blah, blah. The thing that I didn't realize at the time is it wasn't really about gay rights. It was about power. It was about telling heterosexual people that they're wrong. Well, they're not. It was about telling homosexual people that they were better than heterosexual people. Well, they're not. Gender or sexual orientation or any of those things don't make us better or worse than another person. You're not a better person if you support the pro-choice movement. It's just not possible. There is an argument to be made, though, that you are a better person if you support the pro-life movement. That argument, that debate can be had. Maybe that's a different show. Either way, the open, in-your-face disdain and hatred from the left towards human beings is the thing I think that will hold them back and has held them back the most, that has kept them from gaining more of a foothold in this country. Many would say, AJ, they don't have much further to go. That's pretty strong here. We have 63 million vote for Hillary. You're absolutely right. But what I'm saying is I think the anger and the hatred and the frustration and the ugliness that is put out by the left has kept them from tipping that scale all the way over. Because what happens is you and me go through that rebellious, hormone-charged part of our lives as youngsters, and we think, yeah, that, and yeah, this, and rebel, and yeah. And then we get older and we realize, wait, there's a reason that all this stuff was and is the way that it is. And so those conservatives have a heart when they're 20, but they have a brain when they're 40. It's one of the things that helps me feel better about this political battle that's being fought in this country. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more. This is Blowin Smoke with AJ. It's the Talk America Radio Network.
Man, I had a rough night's sleep. Boy, I got a letter from the IRS yesterday, and I just couldn't sleep. Man, I'm dying here. Somebody help me.
IRS problems affect more than just your finances. If you're ready to take back control of your life and you owe more than $10,000, you need to call the tax doctor. Their expert staff can immediately protect you from the IRS and state collectors and get you the best possible tax settlement guaranteed. The IRS has recently released new programs geared in helping struggling taxpayers, where you may qualify to settle your tax debt and wipe out up to 85% or more of what you currently owe. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call the tax doctor right now. See if you qualify to pay less. 800-215-1727. 800-215-1727. 800-215-1727. 800-215-1727.
The following message is brought to you by Health Markets, your first choice when you need health insurance for your small business. Do you offer health insurance to your employees? Call us now and see if you can save money. Do you want to offer vision and dental to your employees? Call us. Do you think you're paying too much for your current health insurance? Call us. Do you want somebody else to do all the legwork and search thousands of health plans from over 180 health insurance companies nationwide? Call us. We're Health Markets, and thanks to a little-known solution, we could help your business save thousands of dollars on health insurance costs and save your employees money too. Our service is free. Don't miss the great savings. Call now.
800-472-5145. 800-472-5145. 800-472-5145. That's 800-472-5145.
Health Markets Insurance Agency is DBA of InSphere Insurance Solutions, Inc., licensed in all states. Product availability varies.
Welcome back to Blowin Smoke. I'm AJ. It's the Talk America Radio Network. Quick note for you. This week, the 13th and 14th, the Geminid meteor shower will hit us. Hopefully, the weather where you are will cooperate and you'll get to see some shooting stars. Many of them. Those are always, it seems to me, really late at night and extreme early morning when they're best to be viewed. And if I remember correctly, because I pay attention somewhat to the cycle of the moon just by seeing it in this flat country that I live in, that the moon is waning. It's going to be dark this week, if I remember correctly. A great opportunity to see this meteor shower, the Geminids, from the Gemini cluster, that direction, constellation. Interesting stuff. I wonder if I'll get to see any, or would be able to see any, from my northern area. Plus, we'll see if the weather cooperates here as well. Quick note, I said the 12th, the big Roy Moore, Doug Jones election. Goodness. I suppose you heard this week that the lady with the yearbook admitted to altering the entry. A lot of words have been used, forge this and amend that. The point of it is, now the yearbook entry is ruined. It is corrupt. It cannot be trusted. In the same sense, just like last week, I said, well, hey, I think it was last week, the week before on the show, General Flynn pled guilty to lying. Well, now anything he says can't be taken as any kind of witness testimony. It's all corrupted. The same way now, the yearbook is corrupted. And if you've paid attention to the story of Roy Moore down there, then you've heard all of the other debunking of the stories and the allegations from other women as well. I don't buy it. I've said on the show very early in this, I said I don't believe it. I don't believe it took place. I do believe that if any of these things were true, that Roy Moore's reaction would have been different. I really do believe that if these things actually took place and these women were being sincere, that he would say, oh, I'm caught. I can't do this faking stuff anymore. And he would resign and he would step aside and we wouldn't hear from him anymore. That's one of the reasons. The other reason, I got to draw a line. There needs to be a statute of limitations on this. And for me, the amount of time that needs to go by, or the amount of time that can go by, where it's still okay for someone to come up with a charge or an accusation or to take action against the person that took action against them, maybe 10 years. I think 15 is way too long. Look, here's my opinion. And that's all it is. It's worth 2 cents. And if those 2 cents are pennies, it's worth nothing, less than that. If you've been through that kind of experience, traumatic experience, maybe trauma is too strong a word for some instances, and others it would be exactly the right word. But if you've been through that kind of experience, if after 10 years you haven't put it to bed and either realized that it doesn't have the same impact or isn't as big a part of your life anymore, then you don't get to try to ruin somebody as a result of it later when you see them doing better than you think they deserve. I have to stick by that. 10 years, maybe less. If someone wrongs you in this day and age with the internet, and even 35 years ago when we didn't have the internet, we still have authorities. We still have people who you can report to. Doesn't mean the first person you see and talk to will become your champion and hero and make everything right. But if there is that kind of transgression, and it is that serious, well, then you stop at nothing at the time it takes place to get it corrected and hold the other person accountable. You can't wait, in my opinion, more than 10 years. And in this instance, with Roy Moore, 30 years at the minimum, 35, something like that, 40 tops? Absolutely not. Sorry, you had your chance. What we see from that man in the past 20, 30 years gives no indication, no reason to suspect. And if we were asked at a young age, most of us, if we could have that kind of impact that he's had in our own lives, not saying the same things, not serving in the same posts, but living the kind of life he has and having the impact that he has where he lives in his community and now in America, we would say, oh, give me that shot. Wouldn't we? Right. I think that we would. And it's another argument, in my opinion, that tips the scale, tips the balance towards his innocence. We can't live in a society where pettiness and this gotcha mentality can be allowed to control us. So I remember, here's an example, I guess. How many of you ever got in a fight in junior high? Well, maybe in that fight in junior high, I got in a fight in junior high too. It didn't end this way. I lost the fight, but there wasn't any blood. But what if, let's think back to when we were in our junior high and high school days. People fought, and sometimes somebody get a broken nose or the black eye and there'd be blood, or knock some teeth out. Well, so now it's okay 35 years later to come back and say, hey, 35 years ago that guy punched me and knocked my teeth out and I bled and had to have dental work done, and I was just too scared to say anything about it for 35 years. But now, since they might be elected aldermen, I think that everybody should know about it. How ridiculous. How petty. How ridiculous. There are some things that matter and some things that don't. And I think in our reactionary liberal media, our modern millennial times where emotions are the basis for everything, people can take the simplest, most common event, distasteful or not, like a fight where someone gets their teeth knocked out, and they can turn it into this traumatic stress disorder. They can create their own PTSD from something that happened 35 years ago today and try to manipulate us into siding with them and hating somebody because that kind of untoward event took place. It actually happened. Well, there's some things, that's the whole thing, I guess. Part of maturing is learning how to get over things and how to accept the reality that it's not always going to be what we think it should be. It's not going to be fun and easy. It's not going to be full of love. It's not going to be full of joy. There are going to be the low times as well. There are going to be the opposing times, the difficult times, the challenging, the unsafe times, the times when we're exposed and security is unknown or non-existent. It is nature. It is the act and the gift of life and freedom to experience risk, to find it possible to be on the wrong side of actions and causes. I hope that women in this country, young, old, middle-aged, moms, sisters, aunts, I hope that the instinctual direction to lean is in not taking it anymore, not believing because feminism today tells you that there's inequality, not accepting that because the newspapers tell you that there's some kind of pay gap, not defining your own experience as a woman in this country based on statistics from other women, past or present. I hope that women in this country of all ages recognize that individual responsibility and freedom and opportunity to break free from those definitions that the victimhood feminazi class seems to have wrapped their arms around and shoved down everybody's throats. Regardless of what happened to any other woman, your age or younger or older, doesn't mean it will happen to you. Whatever has been experienced by other women doesn't mean you'll experience the same thing. This is something that's true for humans. But in this age where we keep learning about sexual assault, after rape, after molestation, on and on and on, and this debate coming up about as I read in the article from a couple of weeks ago, the unexamined brutality of the male libido from the New York Times, Sunday Review with Stephen Marsh. It's this idea that there's some cultural issue. It's wrong. It's a human issue. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, the side of us that furthers the species, the instinct to procreate, the sexual drive, it has its ugly side just like everything else does. It's about educating a human being, male or female, and how to overcome those things that will be damaging and not to choose to do the things that will become damaging to themselves and to others through their actions and through their sexual appetite. It's part of education and learning what it means to be a human being and to be an individual and to have the responsibility of being that individual, male or female. I hope that's where the discussion will go, rather than casting males as some kind of awful, rapey, slaving animal and women as some whatever. It's just nonsense. It should be about what this country is about. Individuals doing what individuals can with individuals' freedom and individuals' responsibility. Boy, we'll see. We shall see. We'll be back after this. I want to talk a little bit about the Jerusalem situation. The capital of Israel gets to be the capital of Israel. Hallelujah. We'll be back after this. Stay tuned.
What's your IRS problem? Do you owe back taxes? Is there a lien placed on your property? Have your bank accounts been frozen or seized? Have your wages been garnished? Are you being audited by the IRS? Are they sending you letters that demand actions and have urgent due dates? Well, solving your tax problems is as easy as calling Taxes 321. The IRS is the largest collection agency in the world. You need the best representation to give you peace of mind. You need experienced professionals that can cut through the red tape and stop the collection process. If you have a serious problem with the IRS, call the Taxes 321 network today. We'll get them off your back.
800-510-0338, 800-510-0338, 800-510-0338, 800-510-0338.
Do you use the expensive blue or yellow pills to charge your sex life? Are you thinking about it? What if we can promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? If you're paying $20 a pill for the other pills, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pills deliver the exact same results for less than $3. You'll save more than $16 a pill for the same results. And right now, radio callers will get 44 blue or yellow pills for $120 with free discreet shipping. You can save more than $700 off pharmacy prices. Charge your sex life now and save a ton of money. Call now and get your 44 pills and save over $700 and qualify for free shipping. Stop overpaying and call right now.
800-296-1289. 800-296-1289. 800-296-1289. That's 800-296-1289.
Welcome back to BS with AJ. I am AJ. As I said, Jerusalem gets to be Israel's capital. Wait, hasn't it always been? Yes. Well, no, but it should be, and it is. And the fact that there is ever even a debate that has lasted as long as it has is ridiculous. It's another example of the BS that has taken place in our establishment politics for decades. I'll tie this in quickly with my one tweet that trumps them all. When this news came out, when President Trump made his announcement, we were given forewarning of this. It was foreshadowed. It looks like that's going to happen this week. And sure enough, it did. President Trump announced that we'll be moving our embassy there. That's their capital. We're going to do this. It's been something that's been a campaign promise for presidents for quite a long time. And we were told when the announcement took place, and even before the announcement took place, that what damage this was going to do to the peace process, how this was going to cause terrorism or terrorists to kill people, as if they don't already, as if that's not the definition of terrorism. We were told it's going to be thumbing our noses at the Palestinians, thumbing our noses at the peace process. Trump being disrespectful of the peace process, trashing it, whatever the rhetoric, as I've said, which is limitlessly inflammatory nowadays, no matter what it was. Oh, and we have Obama saying, gosh, if we're not careful, we're going to have the Third Reich in the U.S., which costs $60 million, blah, blah. It's just absolutely limitlessly inflammatory rhetoric, and they took the opportunity to inject that kind of vitriol into this decision to allow this nation to have as its capital the city that is its capital. But what we also saw was, well, there's protests and there's rioting. Boy, that lasted a long time, didn't it? They must have really cared. 2 days, 2 nights? It appears to have amounted to nothing but lip service. All of this anger from the people opposing this move at this embassy and recognizing this capital of Israel. It appears that it really wasn't that big of a deal to them the whole time. Just something else to add to their list to try to leverage themselves, terrorists, the jihadi Islamist groups in the Middle East. Is just another thing to leverage their hate against us, so as not to step on their toes, to tread more softly. And it was all a bunch of BS. If they really cared, if it was as a big deal to them as they wanted us to believe, and as all of the experts, especially the liberal and democratic ones here in this country, wanted us to believe it was, we would still be seeing, well, it would have had to have been on a grander scale to begin with, and it would needed to have lasted longer than it did. Proof, once again, that if only leaders in the past, our presidents, had followed through with their campaign promises, where would we be today? That brings us to one tweet that trumps them all, a new weekly segment where I give you my favorite Trump tweet, which I'm sure many of you will have seen. Maybe it wasn't your favorite, but we're going to talk about the one that was my favorite. It has to do with this Jerusalem deal. His one tweet that trumps them all from the past week, Donald Trump tweeted, "I fulfilled my campaign promise, others didn't." And then he shared a video compilation. It opens with Bill Clinton from '92 recognizing the capital. George Bush in his campaigning, saying he was going to move the embassy, that Jerusalem is the capital. Obama in '08 saying the same thing. And then himself on the campaign trail saying he was going to do it. And then it finished with his announcement, the pre-recorded video of his announcement saying that we will move the embassy to Jerusalem. One tweet that trumps them all. campaign promises, following through on what you told the people you would do when you were asking for their vote. It's a very important thing. It's something that has been belittled and gutted over the years because it hasn't been done, and we haven't held, as a nation, as voters, the politicians accountable for not fulfilling their promises, whether on the local level, the state level, or the federal level. We've not done enough. We have been victim of the mainstream media, of the manipulation, of the agitation propaganda. It has worked in the past. You've heard me say on the show, it doesn't work anymore. That's why we have Trump in office. That's why we have someone in office who will follow through on their campaign promises. That's why we have the phrase drain the swamp. That's why we have the phrase deep state. That's why we hear so many of us in the talk show realm talking about the silent coup, the effort to take down a president through the collusion of intelligence communities, the DNC, the Democrat Party, and the mainstream media. It's happening. We're not fooled anymore. One tweet that trumps them all. Following through on his campaign promise to move an embassy to the capital of a nation, the rightful capital of a nation, and we're supposed to be worried because a bunch of people who have never had a nation, who have never had a country, who have never been a people, calling themselves the Palestinians, taking a Bible name, a biblical name, to lend themselves more credence in the American political argument. Sorry, not buying it. Congratulations, Israel. I hope that you continue to win. Make Israel great again. MIGA. In just 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen, ABC had the Flynn story. Mr. Ross, if that's his name, on suicide watch, as I mentioned last week, suspended. He's not on suicide watch. I wonder if he is, and we're just not learning about it. He must be so broken up about the mistake that he made and the punishment that he received, right? Sure. CNN, with the WikiLeaks story this past week about how Donald Trump Jr. and people in the Trump campaign were given access to the WikiLeaks hacked emails before they were made public. Nope, they didn't. Fake story. They corrected it. They didn't retract it. They said, well, all of our sources were wrong. Sorry. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Then we have WAPO. Dave Weigel posted a picture of an empty arena before the Trump rally, was called out on it by Donald Trump, and had to admit that it was wrong and take it down. And then I guess he ended up showing some real pictures as well, or at least admitting to the mistake. Agitation, propaganda. Showing us things, using the visual stimulus and what effect that has on human brains to try to twist and manipulate how we feel and what we think about our president. I don't care how many people have come out and said, well, Mr. Weigel, he's real deal. Sorry, bud. You just dropped in the respect pool a good 10, 20 points, as far as I'm concerned. I say go back and write for The Onion. You'll probably find you'll have a happier life if you pull yourself out of the political argument world. Goodness gracious. I have a question for you. Our president attended the dedications, the openings of a civil rights museum, and there was another building as well. But my question for you is this. He attended this museum and this opening. What does it say about the character of people, the character of the black leaders in the area and the region who boycotted the opening of that civil rights museum because Trump attended it? How in the world does that match with any of the rhetoric that we hear from the left about how important the fight is, about how there's still an ongoing civil rights fight and need for more civil rights? How does this fit when the sitting president, someone I would think, if you're fighting for civil rights, you'd want to have on your side? What does it say about the character of these people that have obviously been elected or chosen by their peers to be leaders in the black community when they behave like this? And why is it not okay to call them out on it? Why does it cause them, or do they feel like they will be leftist, liberal, democratic heroes by acting so intolerantly, by not taking the opportunity to engage with Trump? Either to act on their belief that he's a racist and try to change that, or to go and see if it's actually true. Of course it isn't true. I said during the campaign, Trump's a benefactor. He wants to be a benefactor. He is our Hercules, or Heracles. He wants to fight the battles that we cannot ourselves fight and win, and he wants to leave a net benefit for the population of the nation. Doesn't matter which one. It's not about the billionaires or about the poorest or about this ethnicity or that or gender, none of it. It's about America. He is the benefactor that we luckily identified and put in office. And then these individuals, at the dedication, the opening of a civil rights museum honoring those people who fought to gain those civil rights, which they never would have gotten if we didn't have Republicans in Congress to make it happen for them in the 60s. But they don't attend because Trump. It is another example of that Trump derangement syndrome, of the delusion, of the unmasking of the left and showing them to be nothing but hypocrites. From the foundation of their ideology on up, it is all a house of cards, and it's all built on emotional reaction to false or incorrect analysis of reality. And it's all by design, by the left, by fascism, by communism, by socialism. That's what all of those political ideologies and systems need. Division, anger, hatred. It's Orwellian. That's why those books are classics. Speaking of books, it's now time this week for a book to shove in your skull. I tell you what, folks, I talked about this book a couple of weeks ago. I said I was looking forward to reading it because I read The Count of Monte Cristo, finished it a few weeks ago. I jumped right into, when I had the chance, The Three Musketeers, another Alexander Dumas piece. And as I mentioned in that session of a book to shove in your skull, it's the same is true with The Three Musketeers as is true with The Count of Monte Cristo. They, in their original form, appeared as what was called a serial in the newspapers there in France, in Paris. And it was either daily or weekly, depending on the setup, and it was probably different in the different regions, depending on how often a paper was printed or delivered. But so what ended up happening is, rather than comics, like we have today, readers would get the newspaper and they would pick up where they left off last week with a story, a chapter each week or whatever it might be. And The Three Musketeers was presented to the world first as a serial. And I have fallen in love with these books. And I think a lot of it has to do with them being written in that, with that delivery and in that form. The example of that being, a lot of times you'll start a chapter and there'll be something like this. We've already met this character previously in the story. Now we will take the opportunity to dive deeper into their story and their history, where they come from and why they're important to the narrative that you're now reading. That's paraphrased, but I enjoy that kind of narrator address, that narration to the story. It's not simply a list of actions carried out in the third person or explained in the third person. And of course, they were written in French. And so what we read over here are the English translations. And what a lot of fun it is, in my opinion, as a lover of books, to read the translation of a French, especially from that era, story. It's so well done, so flowery, such a different time to live in, such a unique and interesting culture that is somewhat shared. We see it's a little window that opens up into that culture that took place and was there and present at the time in France. And what a joy. I would highly recommend any of the classics from Alexander Dumas and his many shadow writers. But check those out. Either The Count of Monte Cristo, which was phenomenal, had a hard time putting it down, and now I'm enjoying immensely The Three Musketeers. Really heating up right now. D'Artagnan in the midst, Athos, Porthos, and Aramis, they're missing after the trip to London. No spoiler alerts needed. I'm in the midst of it. I haven't finished it yet. It's just an exciting moment in the book, though. I hope you'll pick it up. Thanks for tuning in this week. BS with AJ here on the Talk America Radio Network. Stay safe, stay warm, enjoy the Geminids, and until next time, bye, Earth.